Okay, we are going to get started. We're on lesson 17 for level E math. Go ahead and open your textbooks and find lesson 17. Part 1. Should look like this. I'll read what it says. Follow along. You know that two fractions are equivalent or equal if the pictures of the fractions have a shaded area that is exactly the same size. You can see the pictures of two fractions that are equal. You can see the equation below, 3/4 equals 6/8. It's a really important rule. If fractions are equal, you can multiply by 1 to show that they are equal. Listen again. If fractions are equal, you can multiply by 1 to show that they are equal. Here's how to find the fraction that equals 1. You work the multiplication problem for the top numbers and the problem for the bottom numbers. The top numbers of the fraction are here. 3 times some number equals 6. So if I have a problem that is 3 times some number equals 6, I have to go backwards. So 6 divided by 3 is what? 2. Now if we do the denominator, the bottom of the fraction, 8 divided by 4 is 2. Then you end up with a fraction that is the same on the top and the bottom, 2/2. Any fraction has the same number on the top and the bottom is equal to 1. So now I know that fractions are equal to 1. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do another one. We'll do this one. 1/2 times blank equals 4/8. All right. First, gonna work across and go backwards. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 divided by 1 is 4. In the middle, I have 4/4. What does 4/4 equal? 1. Good. Let's go ahead and do another one. Let's see. 3/5 times blank equals 6/10. Gotta work backwards. 6 divided by 3 is 3. Oh no, my goodness. 2.
Miss Gladys wants to fill this out.
10 divided by 5 is 2. I don't have my computer today, tell her. Thanks. All right, let's go ahead and do one more. 4/3 times blank equals 12/9. Okay, so 12 divided by 4 is 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 3/3 equals 1. I forgot to do 2/2 equals 1. All right, those were the equations for part 2. So make sure you have those written down for part 2. All right, moving on to part 3. You're going to learn about decimal values. I'll read what it says. Follow along. All the values that are written before the decimal point are more than 1. So everything that is written before the decimal point is more than 1. All the values that come after the decimal point are less than 1. Looking on this next page. You can write a decimal point after any whole number. That's what your calculator does. You can see the whole numbers 203, 1, and 45. Listen, the columns in part 3 show how whole numbers and decimal values work. The columns for the whole numbers are in red and pink. The columns for the decimals are in green. If you look at the numbers 1,000 and 9,999. The whole numbers between those two numbers have 4 digits. The first digit is the thousands digit. Then there's the hundreds digit. Then there is the tens digit and the ones digit. So if the decimal part ends one place after the decimal point, that part tells me about tenths. Find part 4. It shows different numbers. All have a whole number and a decimal part. Here are the rules for reading decimal numbers. You read the whole number part. You say and for the decimal point. You read the decimal part. If the number ends one place after the decimal point, you say tenths. If it ends 2 places after the decimal point, you say hundredths. If it ends 3 places after the decimal point, you say thousands. Look at the first number. The number ends 1 place after the decimal point. So that number is 5 3/10. Everybody say that. 5 3/10. We're on this page now. The last number ends 3 places from the decimal point. Let's read that number. 5 3/1000. Go ahead and find part 5. Numeral A in part 5. How many places after the decimal point is the last digit in A? 2. So the decimal part is 35 hundredths. The numeral is 6 35 hundredths. Everybody say that. 6 35 hundredths. Numeral B. There are 2 digits after the decimal, so that one is also hundredths. So we're going to read numeral B, 5 13 hundredths. Numeral C. How many places after the decimal point in the last digit? 1. So instead of hundredths, that's tenths, not hundredths. So numeral C is 6 4/10. Let's go ahead and read numeral D. 5 3/10. Numeral E is not tenths because we have 2 numbers after the decimal. So numeral E goes back to hundreds. So we're going to say numeral E is 7 41 hundredths. Numeral F, 25 6/10. Numeral G, how many places is the point? How many places after the decimal is the last digit? 3. So numeral G is thousandths. Everybody read numeral G. Get ready. 3 189 thousandths. All right, numeral H. This one is another thousandths numeral. 18 502 thousandths. Remember, a number that ends 1 place after the decimal is tenths, 2 places after the decimal is hundredths, and 3 places after the decimal is thousands. You can go ahead and open your workbook. Find part 1 in your workbook. You're going to write numerals that start with a whole number and have a decimal part. Numeral A, 7 3/10. It ends in tenths. So how many digits am I going to have after my numeral? Or after my decimal? If it ends in tenths, just 1. Let me write a little 0.0, 0.00, 0.000. You don't have to write these, but this is tenths, hundreds, and thousands. Okay? So if I only have 1 number after the decimal here, then I know I'm in tenths. So here's what you should have when I say 7 and 3/10. You should have 7.3. 7 and 3/10. All right. B, 7 and 34/100. I want you to try and write it. 7 and 34/100. This is what you should have. 7 and 34/100, because hundredths has 2 after the decimal. Go ahead to C. Your number for C is 5 and 213,000. 5 and 213,000. Remember, when I say that word and, there's a decimal there. So for C, 5 and 213,000. I have 3 after my decimal for thousands. And let's go ahead and do D. For D, 14.6, 14 and 6/10. 14 and 6/10. So it should look like this. 14 and 6/10. All right, we're gonna jump back to the textbook really quick. Find part 6. It's like this. The bottom number of a fraction is called the denominator. Some of the tasks you'll do will refer to the denominator. Fraction A, 2/7. What's the bottom number? 7, so that's the denominator. Fraction B, 9/3. What's the denominator? 3. Fraction C, 2/56. What is the denominator? 56. Go ahead and find part 7. All these problems show a denominator of a fraction and a whole number the fraction equals. To figure out the top number of the fraction, you start with the denominator fraction and multiply. So, problem A looks like this. Four equals blank over 20. B, 36 blank equals 8. And we'll do C. 5 equals 27 over blank, or under blank. So what I'm going to do to find my top number is I'm going to multiply my denominator by my whole number. So I'm going to have to rewrite it. 20 times 4. Then you're just solving the multiplication problem. So 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 2 is 8. So the number that I put on the top, my numerator, is 80. Problem B. 8 times 36. I'm going to rewrite it so it's easier to solve. Go ahead and write them down on your paper. All right. Double check my recording, make sure I'm recording. Oh, perfect. Okay. So, now we're going to go ahead and solve this problem. 6 times 8 is 48. 8 down, carry the 4. 8 times 3 is 24. 25, 26, 27, 28. Hold on. 8 times 3 is 24. 5, 6, 7. So 288 is my top number here. And C, 27 times 5. I'm going to rewrite it. 27 times 5. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 2, 10, 11, 12, 13. So my top number here is 135. I want you guys to go ahead and complete D and E on your own. Then we're going to jump back to the workbook page. All right, go ahead and find part 2 in your workbook page. These are division problems with remainders. Remember, you write the answer for the correct fact number. Then you subtract the number and write the remainder. So our problem A, 23 divided by 4. Okay, on my multiplication sheet, I need a number that is close to 24 but not over on the 4 line. Okay, 4 times what number is close to 23 but not over? 4 times 5 is 20. So I'm going to write that problem down. Now I have 23 minus 20. My 3 comes down here, and I'm going to bring it up here. So 5, remainder 3. All right, problem B. (23) divided by 7. I want to know a number that's close to 23 but not over on the 7 line. 7 times 3 is 21. 23 minus 21. So 7 goes into 23 3 times with 2 left over, 2 remaining. Go ahead and complete the rest of that part on your own. When you are finished, you may move on to part 3 in your workbook. All right, part 3 in your workbook. First, you'll write the division problem for each fraction. Then you'll use a calculator to work each problem. All right, so I'm going to read my fraction as a division problem. 261 divided by 9. Then we have to write the division problem. You can use your calculator to figure out the answer. So here's my division problem for A. 261 divided by 9. There's another way I can write this. 261 divided by 9. So you guys can go ahead and use your calculator and solve to figure out how many times 9 goes into 261. We can quickly go over it if you do not have a calculator. All right, so 9 goes into 26, but not evenly. So find a number on the 9 line that is close to 26, but not over. 9 times 2 is 18, 9 times 3 is 27, so 27 is too high. We're going to have to go 9 times 2. All right, and then 18 goes here. I'm just going to get this out of the way. So 26 minus 18, I'm going to have to borrow. 2 minus 1 is 1. Now I have 16 minus 18, which is 8, or 6 minus 8, and then 1 minus 1 is 0. So I have an 8, and I'm going to bring my 1 down. Do you know how many times 9 goes into 81? 81 divided by 9 is 9, because 9 times 9 is 81. So this is the number you would have gotten. So then back to writing my fraction over here. Over 9 is equal to 29. All right. Problem B. I want you guys to go ahead and complete row B, C, and D. When you are finished, you can go ahead and move on to part 4. All right, part 4. These problems do not have the box as the last value. You can put the values in number families. Then it's easier to see how to work the problems. Remember, you circle the big number. If the problem has a plus sign, the last value is the big number. If the problem has a minus sign, the first value is the big number. Problem A. You're adding. What's the big number for problem A? 403. 2, 4. All right, so your big number is 403. And you're adding an A. Problem B, you're subtracting. What's the big number? It's a box. Problem C, you're adding. What's the big number? 216. Work problem A, circle the big number and then make the number family. Raise your hand when you have the number family. Your first number family should look like this. Okay, I know my big number is 403. And then box is a small number and 86. Here's what you should have. I'm not asking you to solve, you're just writing them out in a number family. Okay, go ahead and work those problems. When you are finished, please unpause and we'll move on. Go ahead to part 5 in your workbook. The table is supposed to show the numbers of inches of rain that fell in 2 cities during 1985 and 1986. But some of the numbers are missing. Your turn. Figure out the missing numbers and write them in. When you are finished, you may check your work on the math book page and then go on to complete your independent work, parts 9, 10, and 11. When you are finished, please go ahead and submit to your teacher.